SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity.
What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. My name is Neil with Simpson Family Jeeps, joined in Grandma's Couch Studio with the esteemed
The maddest mad scientist, Scott Brown.
and that guy, the producer guy,
the
Wow.
Italian Stallion,
Jeff the Builder.
Jeff the Builder.
There it is.
Man, he's got more nicknames and personas than
He
It
does.
just keeps going.
it does. It does.
It's like as many job titles as Scott has here.
That's true.
That's fair.
That is true. That is true.
So you got Geauga Jeepers first this morning. Good morning, guys.
Hey, he's got first. Good job.
Joe O'Brien says good morning, and Roy Hill says good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you. Joe, I got your text message. I'll respond back to you accordingly. I was asking a question about JLJT brakes, and I'll be honest with you. We learned ourselves something new, just ourselves. Maybe I'll just talk about it on air. He asked if the JT rear brakes is a direct upgrade for a JK. And the reservation that I am specifically having is that despite the fact that the platforms have been out for, 8 years, we are still learning things new. In fact, Friday, we just learned that one of the local auto parts box stores just now has brakes available, because otherwise we've reasonably been buying them from the
Mopar.
dealership. And I know that Napa had a line, but other than that, I didn't know anybody else did. To my knowledge, there's not a direct bolt-on upgrade between platforms. I feel like if that was the case, we would have been, talking about it to this point. But I actually don't know.
I know the rear caliper is a little bit different.
I know the rear caliper is different, and therefore the whole 1500, when you did a JK big brake upgrade, that was in part because of the fact that the JK and then you had the J8 and then a 1500 actually shared a lot of similarities, but you had to redo the rear bracket, the caliper bracket itself, to satisfy the rear caliper.
Yes.
So while rotors and pads might be close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades, appropriate positioning of that rear caliper was determined by the bracket itself.
Yep.
So I don't know. Maybe one of our listeners is going to jump in and tell us, or somebody will, leave a comment or reach out to us
At some point, we'll just have to do mad scientist things and see
and
what
start
fits.
to switch swap them around. We are going to be playing a game today with each other and our viewers.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? This is a game that, realistically speaking, Scott and I kind of used to play when we were just toiling away in the garage, like, the standard hangout, let's work on this thing, or let's tear this thing apart, or let's
Right.
figure out how this works. And it would be
But we
like,
didn't go as far as put in the box. It was like, hey, what's this for?
correct.
Yeah.
We'd like find it on the shelf, or it was something in the barn that, it had kicking around for,
And
Yeah, but
usually,
because of the movie Seven, it's so much fun, more fun to just say, what's in the box?
sure.
You've not seen the movie Seven?
no.
You have absolutely seen
So,
it.
dude, Seven was out like 20 some years ago, wasn't it?
Probably.
Okay.
The Seven Deadly Sins.
Yeah, totally. I remember it, but I don't remember it. You
Oh.
and Greg would make those references together. I don't know.
Anywho's,
Okay, Rob Morgan with the SNL did a game with a box once. That is true.
That is not
That's
the same
not
game.
this. That's not this game.
no.
That's not this game. We're not playing this game together. We're not playing the SNL box
No.
game together right now.
Have you seen Carrot in a Box?
Carrot?
It's a comedy show over in.
I think that's worse.
No, so they have two boxes. One box has a carrot in it, and the two have to guess one person gets to look and see what's in their box, and they have to fool the other one whether or not they have the carrot.
So it's bluffing, basically.
It's bluffing.
I
So-
love that what Jeff's bringing to the table today. It's
Yeah.
really authentic material. I have no idea about carrot in the box. He could have just totally bluffed and made that up.
What I was going to say
I
is
could've.
normally I
But
feel
did I?
pretty confident about this, about, baffling Neil and being able to guess whatever's in his box, but he's on this winning streak lately that I'm just kind of shook. I don't know.
He won one game.
I think I won 2.
I think you run 2 in a row.
I think I'm 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think I'm 2 in a row.
Oh.
I will preface this, and then I want to talk about something that happened this weekend, and then we'll get into some of the rules, some of the stuff that Jeffrey has conceptualized here.
I'm sorry. Based on all the other games that I've just brought up.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe I will just lay these ground rules out. You know what? No, I'm not gonna talk about. I feel like I threw you an alley oop. Like I
threw a bone.
I threw you a bone on one of these.
Okay.
But then the other 2 are absolutely not in your wheelhouse.
See, I can't promise anything, but at the same time, you surprise me all the time. So
Wow,
we'll see.
we'll see.
And he did also do the same to you. He picked something that was absolutely not in your wheelhouse.
Yep. Oh God. Now, I will mention, and if you didn't get a chance, go over and check out the latest YouTube video on a awesome subject, which is the subject of last week's podcast, the last couple weeks.
Yep.
And now you can actually see that Hemi TJ in living color. So you heard us talk about it, and there is a nice video out. You can head over there and check it out. We've enjoyed that Jeep so much over the years, and we were talking this morning that we feel personally connected to it, because we talk about every time we service a Jeep, kind of service it as if it's ours. I'm kind of looking forward to, and kind of something exciting is that I am intending, and I wrote my wife into this, to drive that Jeep to Florida this weekend, which is going to be great.
So what's the return plan?
Well, that's not so great because I actually have no predisposition. We actually have no flights booked back, and objectively, I have a very tight budget, but my expectation was to attempt to find another Jeep or something type vehicle and drive it back to Ohio.
Oh, so if there's a listener down there in Florida or something selling a Jeep or along the path.
Right.
That'll make it back to Ohio.
That'll maybe make it back to Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've driven some particularly clapped out things, and the wife is pretty adventurous, so we're open to to whatever. I actually looked at a topless YJ, and I thought, man,
boy.
could I drive a topless YJ back from Florida?
I mean, the first couple of states would be fine, but it's going to start getting colder as you get more.
It would definitely get colder, and I thought, man, we'd have to stop and buy, because I'm not going to travel with all that winter gear down.
No, but you would be you'd be buying like the hoodie blankets to drive back.
100%. The
Yeah.
Snuggies and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I'm on the hunt. I'm on the hunt for a vehicle in the Orlando area, under, and I know this is ridiculous, but under $3,000. That's the catch. Under $3,000, and I'm gonna attempt to drive it back
So
north.
if you feel sorry for him,
Yeah.
and you might have a vehicle, you might want to yell at Jeff, and we can relay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking even if it is something that he's going to have to test fate and try to drive back questionably,
yeah.
he may do it.
You hear
Right.
the joy in Jeff's voice.
Yeah, right? And as of right now, the game plan is that I will attempt to. I'm not attempt. You're pretty savvy with our ability to
Let's
to
leave it as
zoom
an
in.
attempt.
well to be participating in the podcast from Florida next week. But again, that requires me to drive
Is
this
there any hurricane scheduled
Behemoth,
for next week?
behemoth Hemi Jeep down to Florida, which I'm pretty confident in.
Meh.
But I'm power driving it. I don't really have any plans to stay anywhere at the moment in between here and there.
Scott L just chimed in. Time to start searching marketplace and sending leads.
Yeah,
Good
I've
luck.
got a lot of leads. I've got a lot of things, but the budget is really keeping me.
I feel
The budget is really
if
keeping me
anyone's going to
constrained.
find you something, it's going to be Scott L.
It might be. It might be. So that's on the horizon. You can.
That should
you-
be the competition now. So whoever finds the one that you
geez.
end up buying gets a free shirt.
Oh my gosh.
And I prefer it to be like a right-hand drive or a two-wheel drive Jeep, something really odd.
I did look. They have a ton of two-wheel drive SUVs. It's
Yeah.
so funny. Two-wheel drive Jeeps. Right now, there is a 1998 limited Grand Cherokee. So that's the 5.9 Grand Cherokee,
boy.
folks. It's actually pretty clean looking. Falls in the price point about $2,500. And you know, if I got to throw a couple bucks at it in the process to get it back. But the gem is it actually has, I don't know, 40, 60, 80-pound shot of nitrous bottle in the back.
Of course it does.
So somebody's been running nitrous in this limited Grand Cherokee. And I thought
That
I
is the
could-
one to drive back.
that is what I'm really leaning towards right now. Can I drive the Hemi down and pick up this even worse on fuel plus nitrous equipped? And the ad states it's got a lag between first and second gear, or second and third.
Tranny
So the
shot.
tranny is shot. Can I get this
As
Jeep-
it warms up, it just gets less and less.
as it
gears.
gets warmed up and I'm running? We're driving home through the mountains of West Virginia in first gear.
Maybe you can just find me like a 67, 68 Jeepster Commando and drive that back.
Oh, there's
there you
some
go.
beautiful Jeepsters in that area.
Scott L's asking, is Savage going to document this adventure? So are you going to stuff Savage in the back of that TJ for the drive down?
So we are not bringing the Savage along with us. We were actually just talking this morning that if I was to try and do this with you guys, with kind of at an employment level, the lack of planning and preparation would be infuriating and unsettling. And if
Scott
not
would
for
need a
you,
contingency plan. I would be driving myself at this point.
yeah, Scott's going. I'm driving myself.
Jeannie was asking, are you saying she's odd over the right-hand drive comment?
I like odd
It's
things.
a little peculiar. Yeah.
Morning from Chip. We also got
Good morning, Chip.
Daddy Jeep saying, I'm picturing Chris Farley and David Spade with a nitrous leak now.
And that could be my wife and I.
it's
You all could be so lucky. And I do plan to try and update my social and maybe also come in on the Facebook page as well, just kind of letting folks know how that is going.
That's awesome.
So yeah, keep me in your thoughts, your prayers, and maybe your Facebook Marketplace suggestions as the week continues, and we'll see what the weekend holds for me.
I see Scott Bennett jumped on, so good morning, Scott.
Good
also,
morning,
I
Scott.
think I missed Mike and Keith also saying good morning. So
Good morning to everyone. All right, so what's in the box? So Scott, Jeffrey, are you prepared to explain
sure.
the further portion? I can't wait to hear what you bring to the
I was
table.
going to say, you're going to clarify everything I say anyway.
That's true.
So, today's game, you each have a box prepared with parts that you're going to try to figure out. Do we have blindfolds? I don't think we did blindfolds today.
No, we didn't do blindfold.
So-
It's an honor system.
Honor system, you're not to look at the part. You're supposed to figure it out by feel and identify what the part is to.
It's by feel? I thought we were describing it to each other. I thought we had changed this one up.
The audience is a describer. If you want to,
Right. I thought that's what the thing is, that this one was just straight up.
See, I told you he was
description.
going to clarify or change everything I said.
Well,
anyways.
no, because you had said the audience. We're including the audience, so we were just making universal rules this
I
time.
think you just describe it as you feel it.
He wants to feel it.
He does. That's fine. He can feel in my box. I am going to keep the box on my lap though.
Nope.
And
Has to be
It's
at
starting
least,
to get to be that SNL one.
has to be at least 14 inches away from me at all
Ooh.
times.
Anyways, so the objective for you guys will be to see who can stump each other, and then we have the box for the audience that has 3 random parts in there that we, as a team, have to describe to the audience, and our listeners, you have to guess what it is.
okay.
And you also have to see if we played fair or not.
So the question I have for you guys is: do we do one each and then do an audience one, and then go back and do?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we do in fact do that.
Sounds good. And then Joe said, Amtrak has a train that goes from Florida to Chicago, stops in Pittsburgh. You could train it back. My wife's done that. It's
I'm
definitely
interested
doable.
in riding the Amtrak. In fact, I know that Angry Turtle, Jason, that his parents ride that exact Amtrak rail, and it's actually very doable. They actually really enjoy it, so it's an option right now. Plane, trains, and automobile. I am coming back.
Listen, if you get the train ride to Pittsburgh, I'll drive your limo down and pick you guys up.
Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. So the only thing is, I think that, so I know in Jason's situation, the train gets in at like really peculiar hours.
You know that doesn't bother
I
me.
know, but that's true. That's right. The limo, we're all like haggard, and the limo rolls into the Amtrak. I get off the cheap seats from the Amtrak because I'm frugal, and I'm like, here's the limo. Yeah, we could do that. That would be something. All right, let's.
Jeeper said trains are safer than planes right now.
That is the wife's concern. We are actually talking about that in the background. So give that for what that's worth. Let's feel in each other's boxes, Scott. Okay. Just want to make so many references.
I know. I already told Scott that this was going to be a day.
So I think Neil has to close his eyes,
My eyes are closed.
and I'll just hand you something.
Oh, okay. Well, goodness. I was not ready for the feeling game. I wanted to go with my description, and I wanted to make it particularly challenging. All right, so what I'm feeling is my eyes are closed. So I'm feeling it's like a washer, right? So it's got a hole in the center. It just kind of barely fits down my index finger. So it's a pretty
Don't
good
get it
size.
stuck.
I'm not pushing it too hard. Just the tip. And it's rounded.
I may have to change our rating on our episodes to
Right?
explicit.
It's just it's rounded, almost like an umbrella would be. It's got 4 little cogs or tangs on it. Keepers that you might call. And it's actually it's got some ridges or bevels in it. And I know that I've seen this and I've handled this somewhere in my life before. It's pretty clean. Doesn't seem to have any grease or grime left on it.
That would have been a good idea.
While you're trying to figure that out, Scott L says, if I drive the limo down, I need to dress like Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. Got it. I have to buy a wig.
Right? So this is kind of like the keepers are kind of like castle nut. They're kind of sticking out. I'm trying to figure out if they're squared off or they're kind of in a pointed sense. Feels like this should be part of a tie rod end. But it's too hard for a tie rod end boot. But it's got all these ridges on it. And I can't tell what it's made out of. I can't tell if it's metal or plastic. It's super hard. This is not good. This is not going my direction. This is not good. I'm tapping on it. If you can't hear me tapping on it, see, that's metal. That's metal. What? I feel like there should be a Jeopardy music playing.
You ready to give up yet?
Well, no. I mean, I'm never ready to give up. All right, I'll take. My eyes are open. Oof.
Can't even get it with your eyes open, can you?
No, you got me, Scott.
Wow. 1 point to Scott already.
Is this a dash bezel for a gauge cluster or for a
So it is not for a dash.
Okay. So these are points, little triangle tangs, off of it.
When I tell you what it is, you're gonna go, oh.
Yep, for sure. I'm really pissed. I'm really not happy because
There's that explicit rating.
because I didn't know we were going to be touchy feeling. All right, what is this?
That is an escutcheon for a 36 Ford or early Ford.
I told you he had one prepared.
Why
for you.
would you give me a 36 Ford part?
Because
Of course I don't know what that is.
do you know what an escutcheon is?
No, I have no idea what an escutcheon is.
That goes
Not saying that
behind.
word right?
Right, he could be making it up. This is your carrot in a box. It could be totally made up.
It goes behind the window crank or the door handle on the door panel. The little nubbies go against the.
Yep,
So it doesn't spin.
so it doesn't spin. It goes into the fabric.
And why I was like, this is fair because a Jeepster or a Willys wagon
Would have had something
would have had
comparable.
something like this. I just didn't have a way of getting one, so I was like, I'm playing dirty. It's fine.
You did, yeah. That was illegitimate.
He asked me on Saturday, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
That was raw.
Well, first I was thinking about doing something else.
I just knew a 36 part.
The U-joint on the torque tube. I was like, nah, he'll get that too easy.
Right.
So I was like, he won't get this.
No, I take your escutcheon back.
All right, 1 point to Scott.
Desperately want that not to be how you actually pronounce it.
All right, present Scott with.
Well,
his...
I'm going to give Scott his gimme then. So close your eyes. I can be the loser and not get one. I'm going to give you one that you can.
Well, it's a gauge.
Okay, that's fair.
Let's see.
So what are you feeling?
Because since I was going to describe this to you, I had a bunch of descriptors prepared.
It's a CJ tack.
It is a CJ tack.
That's disturbing.
It was. That
Because
was particularly
because the-
disturbing. I knew that.
a CJ tack's only gauge basically has plastic backer,
Yep,
and the wires are like on it. You can't take them off.
correct.
So
Correct.
that's
And
why I was like, it's either a clock or a tack. The clock is metal on the back, and the tack
the
is
tack
plastic.
is plastic.
That's still disturbing.
And I wanted to.
Welcome to Scottism.
So
Right.
I was totally prepared, and I knew that this was a give me, but I was going to make it more long and painful in the sense. And so I think I'm still going to do that to him on one of my items
I
in the
think
box.
that's fair.
But yes, that is a great way to understand it. They also peculiar, and I don't know that we've seen them not blue.
No,
They're always blue
because that's the
part of the plastic backer.
backlighting.
Yes.
Because the light bulb shines through the backer.
Do you see how
Yep.
that
And
works?
there's little blue covers over the bulbs in the gauge cluster itself, so to make it all
To make
a-
it all blue.
a nice blue background.
That's actually really cool.
Correct. And so I had some tricky things. I thought I was going to delay it a little bit. But since I knew that this was his gimme regardless.
Yeah, but
and
to nail that quick blindfolded, I mean,
yeah,
why?
with the
Why?
yeah. Well, you know what's
And-
fun about
I mean, you described exactly how you figured it out, which is
Sure.
cool.
And useless trivia, there's actually a 4-cylinder tack, a 6-cylinder tack, and an 8-cylinder tack.
Speaking of useless trivia with Scott Brown, we do have a new segment that's going to start soon on our downloads only. So if you are typically watching us live, start paying attention to the
live
streaming
or on
platforms.
YouTube. Check
Be-
the streaming platform.
Because there's going to be a little mini episode bonus content that's starting very soon where Scott is giving you those
Useless
interesting,
facts with
useless
a bad
facts.
scientist.
Right. And maybe we'll talk about the tack or the gauges. What's unique about this one is actually it lives on or around my desk. Can you produce what this specific tack is?
That should be the 8-cylinder tack from the blue Quadratrack CJ7 we tore apart
And where did we tear that apart?
with the chickens.
With the chickens.
It was such a cool Jeep.
It was a cool Jeep, and it reminds me of how far we've come when I see this tack, because it was a cool Jeep, but it was used as a
Fully
plow.
loaded.
It was fully loaded. At one point in time when it came off the factory line, it was just the creme de la creme.
Yeah,
it
it
was
had
so
the
cool.
blue dash pad, the blue seats, the Levi seats.
Do you have a picture of that Jeep?
It wasn't pretty picture worthy. when
That's
it
Yeah,
tore
fine.
apart.
I don't.
We
I don't
saw the
remember.
gem
Do you have a
and the
picture of
rust.
the chicken area? Because what you need to do is you need to shadow box this with a picture from
Right.
that as a
as a memento of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure 100%. There was a picture of it at one time.
What's really cool is the CJ5 we're currently working on. It's the same color, so
Yeah. Yeah, this was a neat one. This was a V8 with Quadratrack.
Yep.
And I like to keep this on around my desk to both think about like the really cool Jeeps, like what kind of motivated us, what was our
Yeah.
why as far as what got us
Well,
passionate
and
about
it's
these
in
vehicles.
great shape compared to what the shape the Jeep was in.
Yes.
in other words, Scott wants to use it in a build.
I
He's
mean,
not allowed. He's not allowed.
for Neil.
For me, I would totally. I kept my dash for the longest time. We
Yeah.
finally used
I
that.
did talk him out of that one.
Talk me out of the dash, but for this one lives on the shelf for me for the time being. So that's a neat piece. Let's reach into the for the audience box.
Yeah. Which one should we describe for the audience?
I think I am not mature enough right now to describe any of them.
This is the one that I said was going to get us in trouble.
Well, one has nipples, one's ribbed for her pleasure, and one's a huge long shaft. So I'm out.
The whole thing's going downhill.
I'm out at this point, Jeff. So you get to do the descriptions at this point.
So we'll do the this one, Scott.
Okay.
So I'm going to describe a little bit of it, and then you can describe a little bit, and we'll keep going until somebody guesses it.
Okay.
But it is a cylindrical device with plastic and paper.
It has 2 colors.
It does have 2 colors. It's
Well,
got
actually 3 if you count.
it's got an O-ring, and you don't want to blow the O-ring.
If you count the O-ring on the tip, it's a different. It has 3 colors.
I don't think we should. You weren't even painting this morning.
It's
or
off the
anything.
rails at this point.
I apologize. And you know what? If Disney can do it, so can we.
Exactly.
That's right.
Did you see that Disney Plus just released a whole new advertisement? It has everybody up in arms right now.
No.
It's for a series or a movie, and it's going around. And so Disney owns ABC and FX and Hulu,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then you have Disney, and specifically
They own ESPN now too.
I'll say that.
Sure,
The list is
but-
long of what they own.
Right. The list is long, but for adult-oriented content, they own 3 or 4 different platforms that could easily house, whatever programming they want.
Oh yeah.
But
and
they
it all shows up on the Disney profile.
well, and interestingly enough, that's what they're doing. They're using Disney Plus as a umbrella to say that this is going to be available on Disney Plus. So I promise you, if you do or don't follow them on social media, you'll want to find out what this video is they're advertising. But it's like it has like the kids movies, and it's like the kids movies, and there's like a Marvel movie, and then it's like
This.
And I'm like, oh, that's real. I thought it was like a deep fake or, a troll thing. It's not. It was real.
So, just to go back to comments now and get back on track.
Yeah.
Nate
Oh!
guessed oil filter, Don Jacobs guessed injector, and then Nate clarifies cartridge style oil filter for a JLJT. And that is exactly what I was
Yeah,
holding.
Nate.
I see you.
And
Yeah,
this
well
is
done.
a Wix filter, so
It
Which-
is the same as
Some
Ks
JKs.
as well.
This is the with nipple version.
Yes.
Non.
Yep.
Late model JK and JLG.
so that was pretty good.
That was
3-6.
excellent. Good.
With all of our inappropriate comments, he was still able to
Yeah, he was
decipher
able
that.
to focus.
All right, close your eyes.
Okay. That or do you want to try and describe it to me?
Nah,
All right.
it's more fun the other way.
All right.
Let's see. And for the record, this is a Jeep part.
Whatever. All right. So we're about 4 inches in length.
You would know that.
God bless. We're about 4 inches in length.
How big around is it?
It is a little bigger than a pencil. It on one end of it is hollow. There is a couple different ribs or locations for keeper
Scott set
spots.
this up.
He did.
I didn't. It just happens to work out that way. It's fine.
This is 100%. This is an internal for a drivetrain component.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the. So I'm going with this is. So the problem I have is that it is either a new part, and so therefore I'm not as familiar with it. So that would be engine related. because again, folks, we got about 4 inches in length, 4.5 inches in length, a little
Joe
larger,
O'Brien says that's what she said.
a little longer than the diameter, a
I
little.
wanted to say it, but I was trying to reserve myself.
There you go. We're more mature than that, folks.
No, we're not.
So diameter is a little bit more than a pencil. We've got a primary keeper halfway down the shaft. The portion of it is hollow, and then the other portion of it has a bunch of detents, all about a centimeter to a quarter inch or so wide themselves.
Okay, so what is it?
Shift component for a transmission, internal shift component. I feel like this is newer than that. My eyes are open now, folks. Obviously, I still don't know what it is. If you're doing this out of the JL36, I'm going to be all types of fired up on you.
No.
So I'm going back to internal transmission, like a shift rail adjustment.
So that is a Turbo 400 modulator valve for specifically a Jeep transmission, which is why it has the extended hollow part, because the modulator on those days, it was like the size of a coffee can almost, and they had to put a 90-degree or 45 thing on it. So there's actually a little piece that would even been better. You would never got that. That goes into that, has a little tang that makes it turn the corner to operate the modulator. So it is sort of a GM part, sort of a Jeep part. It's the perfect AMC.
Your eyes
parts.
glazed over, Jeffrey,
did
and half the audience fell asleep. So
That's fine.
the
But-
modulator hangs on the outside of the
Yes.
the transmission,
And it
folks.
changes shifting.
So
My
my understanding is that Scott now has 2 points.
So listen
He
to you.
was close.
Listen to you, troll. No, and that's exactly
Fine,
ish.
1.5 points to Scott.
That's fair. And the whole modulator piece, actually, we get a lot of questions when it comes to folks in that old school technology, and we did do a whole segment on transmissions, and talking about how basically they're just hydraulic pumps or fluid pumps.
Correct.
And so that's what all these little orifices, we're talking about the ability to shuttle around in there.
Yep.
And allow fluid to pass
And
by.
it changes the way, firmness of shifts, when it shifts, that kind of stuff.
Donna's in the comments saying, thank you so much for fixing the army of everything done wrong stuff on my Jeep. I love having her back and running great.
Outstanding.
Awesome.
We're so glad to hear that. This that was a really cool one. The only thing that had me really thrown off was you've been so in depth with my wife's JL, and we're learning so much.
Yes.
And I thought for sure, like if we wouldn't have been doing that, I could have totally narrowed. I mean, I did feel like I narrowed in on transmission, but I really had a lot of apprehension because, man alive, that
You overthought it.
I did. Well, I was concerned that it was a JL internal.
Yep.
I want to describe this one. Oh, you want to close your eyes?
Yep.
All right. Well,
I was going to say, just do the describing.
I'll hold on to one, but I think he's got this. And in fairness,
He's got to describe it with his eyes closed. He's not doing that.
It's a round cylinder, has tabs on it where you would bolt it down. There's plugs and a couple spots for it. It's a vacuum can for doing or air tank for doing onboard air.
Oh, he was almost wrong.
I know.
He was almost wrong
know.
when he went with vacuum can.
Well, it would work for that, but it isn't actually what it's for.
It was not rated for that. Yeah,
No.
by any stretch. All right. Well, he had me on the edge of my seat,
For a brief second.
For a brief second. He had me at home. I was like, I'm going to get even, you know? I had looked forward to describing this one to you, but I'll reserve comment on what I was going to say.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
So this is and I did specifically go after aftermarket parts and pieces that Scott doesn't work with very often, but this is one of our favorite parts and pieces for onboard air. And it is what we call a manifold. And it is considered either like a quarter or a half gallon. It's definitely not even a full gallon by any stretch, or even a half gallon. It's almost nominal in how it
Just gives it like a scotch more capacity.
a scotch more capacity than what's considered direct drive on most either single motor or dual motor compressors. ARB does make this. we use it all the time in our builds because it has 4 different ports on it.
Yep.
And it has a reasonably kind of a 360 degrees of mounting. So you can turn it to meet whatever needs we need to.
And it's very compact, fits in lots of small areas on the engine bay, which we deal with constantly.
Right. And if we needed just a scotch more CFM, right,
Yeah.
than what the direct drive motor is, or if you had lockers and you had air solenoids.
And the cool part about those is you could literally add as many of those as you wanted to. So you could plumb them in series, or you could have one in the back of the Jeep, one in the front of the Jeep. That's one of the other advantages of that specifically.
And because they have multiple ports, we'll plumb them into a bigger tank in the
Yes.
back there, a smaller tank just for lockers, whatever you might need. Fun product. What was I going to say? I think the score is Scott is still solidly ahead.
Yeah.
At
Scott's got 1.5 and you've
to
got 0.
But it could still change at a drop of a hat. Who
No.
knows?
No, it can't.
Not-
'Cause my last one is also super easy because I was thinking I was describing them.
Well, you're going to describe the last one anyway. So, this is one we all have to describe for the audience to guess. So,
This one specific, and I want to put some more rules before we get, because Nate knocked it out of the park on the the specification of the oil filter JLJT. I want to drag this one into the muck and the mire, and this one you need to be very specific as to which application
I
it
can't
is.
see what we're describing.
I know.
let's see if I can turn it so that you can see.
Okay.
So on this particular, you, nope.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
On this unit,
That this thing gets longer? Is that what you were going to say?
This would have been an episode for the Nickelodeon episode that we would do.
so good.
It would have been so good.
Oh, we would have been in a lot of trouble.
It would have been okay. That would have the rating would have been appropriate for the nature of the
Yeah.
of the video.
That's fair.
So this
stop
is
making it longer, Jeff.
I
can't.
this. Folks, we're really good with Jeeps. I'm sorry if you sometimes watch this with kids around, or God forbid, my own children, 'cause they're both homesick right now, would have this on. All right, so this is adjustable.
It is.
It does get longer and shorter. It's roughly 1.5 inches in diameter.
Yep.
It is black in color.
It has rubber.
It has rubber on it. I promise these are all really authentic descriptors
It is.
of this component. It has a nut on it that gets jammed or thrust into position. I'm sweating. I'm sweating.
Try not to spit out my water.
Oh God!
Somebody save us. Guess it
God,
already.
why is nobody getting?
They're all
I
laughing.
don't want to describe it anymore. I don't want to describe it. It goes in the rear of.
It's not a tie rod end.
It goes in the rear of this particular application. It is
Of course it does.
it is.
Within the rubber ends, there is a.
There's a hole. There's a bolt hole. There's a bolt hole, folks. I'm bringing this back around. I promise you, I grew up. I did. So there's
Don says it's more fun this way. Why, Gav?
this. Oh God! And it's a 10-millimeter bolt hole. Please, for the love, somebody save me. Because I don't think I should keep going. This is an upper, not a lower, and we're getting.
It is threaded.
It is threaded. And
Does it go front to back or side to side?
it goes front to back. It does. It goes front to back. It does not go side to side. There are 4 of these in total on a vehicle in the rear, and 4 in the forward application. But again, this is specific to the rear.
If
Not,
one's
not all
good
vehicles.
or
Some are
better.
3 link.
Well, in this specific application, there are four.
You okay, Jeff?
We've got a rear control arm guest. Which
Okay.
we're on the right track.
Thank you, Nathan, for trying to save us. But since I had already said upper, so it is a rear upper control arm because it is adjustable, but it's rubber on both ends. But we need a specific application because, again, this is only about 1.5 inches in diameter. This particular product is made in the USA, and we're looking for the application.
Do we happen to know the stock configuration length?
It is so I factually no, the internet fact checkers would get me, but I think it's somewhere around 16 3/4 or 17 inches.
That makes sense.
So that I'm diving way into the brain bank.
Would this normally have a tab on it for something to bolt to?
This would normally have a tab or a series of a couple small holes for,
which are not on the aftermarket part.
Correct. And since the insufficient number of guesses are coming in,
They're all laughing.
well, I hope they're laughing. No, they've all turned us off because we've
With the exception of Don.
besides Don and Nathan.
The numbers say otherwise.
That's true. Numbers are good. So it is a TJ rear adjustable upper control arm.
Yep.
This particular one is made by Iron Rock Off-Road.
And it is
Big shout out to them.
rubber.
Yep, they do have a adjustable end that will go in there for additional articulation and flex. But these are rubber cleveite bushings for just that slightly better on-road handling or a diminished NVH, noise, vibration, harshness.
All right, so Nate had 1 point from the last one, and we'll give him a half point on that one.
I'm gonna. I that is
I think
very.
that's
That's
fair.
fair. That's
Okay,
fair.
Close your eyes.
All right. Final.
That took us almost 10 minutes to get through.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
okay.
This is a mess of wiring harness.
Yep.
I've got a control or a module, like a control box or a module. It's sticky. Would have had some automotive, adhesive on it prior. And see, like the harness that comes out of it has the wires are really tight. It's got a bunch. We're pushing 5, 6, 7, maybe more. Okay, so I'm gonna follow it down the harness here. Feels like somebody did some junkyard removal of part of the trunk. I'm gonna keep going down the trunk. I got a weird, whatever that weird tab is there. This is aftermarket.
Are you
I'm gonna give you a hint
Am
on
I
the tab.
sure?
What would normally be tabbed on a wire harness?
What would be tabbed, like a mount location?
No, it's not for mounting. So it's something that you would add to a wiring harness to protect it.
It's so like octopus that it's hitting my microphone into my face.
So your tab is a fuse. I'll just give that one to you.
Oh, it's taped off though. So
Mhm.
non-accessible fuse.
Mm-hmm.
As I come down here, I've got an LED light. Feels like an LED. It feels like an LED light with some more adhesive stuff, but I've got a lot of wires to that light. But see this, where's this trunk goes? Oh my gosh, we went from a nice smooth sheeting or sheathing to, it tees into. So this feels like part of, this is a T-harness for a remote start.
That's a good guess.
Or
but
a security system.
Also a good guess, but not it.
This part that's hacked off feels like would have been the dead giveaway. But
No.
no,
no?
nope.
Had 5 wires coming out of it. I was really thinking like a trailer wiring harness, or see, this is the part that I don't understand. This little LED on, I don't know, 30 feet of wire that is currently bundled and zippy tied together.
So I'm going to give you a hint. That is a indicator, not an LED light. As
Oh,
your
you just basically gave it to him now.
no,
Well, I mean, I know that it's an indicator. I guess when I was saying it's an LED, I was thinking like security system where they used to flash on the dash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like if you were trying to do like like shift, modulation, you used to have these like little boxes to change the shift modulation. It would illuminate.
I'm going to backtrack for a minute while you try to figure that out. Nate actually had stepped away.
I'm
so
literally looking at it and I have no idea.
So Nate stepped away, and he didn't know what the last one was, but he did get that half credit for it. It was a control arm.
So OBD2. Oh, it's a Mopar control box.
So what you're currently trying to guess
Is this a trailer harness?
no.
Nope.
I already said that, but I was thinking, is that a phone button?
Yep.
Is this like a Mopar on-call system? Like what?
So that is for a JK that did not have the
Phone buttons.
phone button on the steering wheel, but then the customer wanted it after the fact. So that would then tee into your OBD2,
Yep.
and this would be your buttons that you would press for
Call and
calling
dial.
that. The problem is, in their infinite wisdom, they put a fuse holder buried in the dash and then taped the crap out of it.
Yes.
And when that was in line, you then could not scan the Jeep. And that box was behind the radio on the
Yes.
defroster duct. So
Yes.
that is a good viewer and a fan of the show. That was his Jeep. He came in for some service.
You sandbagging son of a gun.
We
And
planned this for a while.
This has been in the works for a while.
Yes. And he came in and we went to scan his Jeep because he had some weird things going on and could not scan it. So we tried a different scanner and still couldn't. I was like, what gave it away to me is this was white
Yeah, it's a white OBD2.
and the factory one is black. And I said, you got something going on there. I don't know what quite it is, but if you're game, I will rip it out of there. And he says, by all means. So we did. We uncovered what it was. That little control button had been removed and shoved back in the dash.
Oh, they didn't even
No,
know
they
that
had
it
He
no
was.
clue.
purchased a Jeep with it in there. And I was like, you know what? I think it would be best just to remove this because this is going to screw with you later.
and this
trying to
is
scan it.
essentially this is the module that when we're upgrading the JK radio
Yes.
that we're unplugging and bypassing.
Ish.
Ish. It's
Correct.
a similar enough.
Yeah.
Similar enough.
The other one is part of the Uconnect. This
Correct.
one isn't. Sort of. It's kind of piggyback.
It's piggybacking the Uconnect.
Yeah.
It's sufficiently giving it this input signals that
But I
make the
guarantee you
Uconnect
this
happy.
doesn't exist probably anymore. It's one of those small time.
It was a Mopar aftermarket performance product at one
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? Not a performance product, but one that it would have been a dealer option. It would have been
Yes.
they added later when a customer was like, "Oh, I can do all these things except for hands-free my phone."
And
I mean, you had
what-
all the right guesses to
Well,
get there.
oh yeah, it was super wild. What year was the Jeep that you removed it
if I
from?
remember right, it was a 12 or a 13.
Okay. I wondered if it landed around the. I mean, if you think about it, folks, the JK came out. We really didn't have the abundance of smartphones.
No.
I mean, we're talking about 07, and smartphone technology was not what it is now. right?
Technology did a big shift during the production run of the JK.
Correct. And this is one of those products where they were trying to retrofit
Yes.
some of those vehicles to allow people to be more hands-free, less distracted while driving.
Yep.
A lot of the manufacturers had to shift for some safety systems, and I'm certain, and this is just, I know, I've been around the game long enough that there was a lawsuit or a settlement
Yep.
on some of these Jeeps, and somebody held, Big Daddy Stellantis or conglomerate, accountable, and they were like, "See, we fixed it. We're
Yes. And I think that's why you see more like 14s and up. They all have the buttons on the steering wheel. I've yet to see one that has the capability that
Right.
doesn't. Where this was an early model, it didn't have it.
Yeah, there was probably a settlement out of court, and we would never be none the wiser. Fun fact, and just because I love telling this guy's story, an individual that we know personally, that we're well acquainted with, who was influential in the fabrication of a lot of Jeeps that we drive today, was by extension an employee of the Jeep Chrysler Stellantis Corporation, but his job was to work off site, and when there was a lawsuit or a recall or something in that, he would get the vehicles, he would cut them apart, he would be responsible for documenting and trying to replicate the complaint. You
Yes.
know, that's such an interesting thing that's what they're doing, is they have somebody who's, or did, I don't
Yeah.
know if they do now, but they had an individual whose job was just simply, once the legal department, he was literally part of the legal department, but he was a mechanic by trade.
Yep.
That's fascinating to me, you know. All right, here's that back.
All right, you
guys-
got last chance to stump him.
I'm describing it. Put your hand away. All right,
He's sitting there with his eyes closed, ready to go.
I know. So this is about 12 inches in length. It is,
It's got a little bend to it.
it's got a little hook to it. It is latticed in how it is actually manufactured. And it does have rubber on it as well.
Terrible descriptions. Can I just feel it already?
No.
This is the problem is when we were doing this, when we were starting out, we never had to have our eyes closed. And the thing is, once you have it in your hands, you're unstoppable. I know that. and your amazing visual, your ability to visualize it is remarkable once you've done it. But once it gets into the hands, there's this like muscle memory that happens.
Oh, you need more descriptions. then.
No. It's silver. There you go.
Oh, jeez.
I'm gonna go ahead. Open your hand up. There you go. I'll give it to you.
Oh, that's easy.
See? What is it?
It's a sway bar link.
By who though?
Uh,
Oh,
Is this Jeff's favorite brand?
no.
No.
He is not a dedicated installer of zinc plated. No, this is a legitimate brand that we actually really like and we represent. Also made in USA. This particular product is not one that we sell a lot of, based on the fact that it's really great for stability, not so great for off-road
I
ability.
don't think it's JKS.
It is not JKS.
Rock crawler?
No, this is Steer Smarts.
Ah,
So this was Steer Smart's answer to Rubicon sway bar links.
yes.
It,
It is uber beefy.
and if you wanted to club an intruder,
This is great.
that is great. If
Yes.
you wanted to add weight to the front end of your Jeep, this is great.
Yeah, it's not that heavy. It's aluminum. It's got lots of speed holes.
It's got all the weight reduction holes,
Yeah.
and it's beefy like you wouldn't
I
believe.
mean, it's got really nice bushings in it.
Yeah. But I don't even remember if it's JL or JK at this point, but I think it's JL.
I think you're right.
And the challenge is we typically want to go with a sway bar link that has a little more pivot to it.
Yes.
But Steer Smarts, if you rock any of their parts, they actually do have a parent company that does OE parts manufacturing specifically for the big three
Yeah,
manufacturers.
this looks like it would be like factory on a McLaren or Lamborghini or something like that.
And but they also strongly believe in their rubber cleavite
Yes.
construction. They are firm believers. So the whole conversation about Heims and tie rod end that has lots of pivot to it, they're not overly concerned because they want the stiffness of the rubber.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we got one more for our audience guests. And, well, as you said earlier, it's ribbed for pleasure.
It is. It's for slippage.
All rubber.
There is a metal band on it.
A cinch clamp.
Cinch clamp to prolong the action. It is. This one is actually for a dry application.
Does have a hole in the one end of it and kind of like a bevel on the other side. It's
So
hollow.
the hole goes all the way
The
through.
hole goes all the way through. It's
Yeah.
a very large hole.
One side is almost looks like a funnel.
It's only about 4 inches long.
Yeah, 4 to 5 inches long in its overall length, and it's probably a solid 2.5 in diameter at its largest ribbing.
Daddy Jeep says CV boot.
Really close,
Close-ish.
really close. But again, for a dry application is your hint, folks. Then and arguably, so we did have something in here for. In the box for our JKJLJT owners,
He
we
said
had something
rack
in the
and
box.
pinion boot.
No.
Further away.
Further away. You're
Cold.
colder. We had the the rear adjustable control arm for our TJ customers. This particular part is going to land for our TJ XJ. I don't think our YJ's ever had this.
No YJ ever had this.
No YJ ever had this.
Wow,
That's a
Daddy
little bit
Jeep
of a hint.
can't guess it now.
Yeah, he's out. He's out.
Oh, he's worked on other Jeeps.
He has.
I know.
He has. In fact, I thought I saw one of these in his shop not too long ago. But maybe I made that up.
This is
It
a
is-
commonly removed part.
It's
and
incredibly removed part, especially if you're lifting your Jeep. If you lift it over 2 inches, 3 inches, and you're not making, so you want to keep your ground clearance, you remove this part and the part that it protects.
He says on the drive
And-
shaft, the boot over the splines.
Hey,
Yay.
ding, ding, ding. So for our slip yokes for our transfer cases specifically, so rear
That part was
output.
very dirty. It made a mess of my laptop.
Sorry.
I'm going to again refrain comment. So it is the rear output slip, and it is there to provide protection, just to ensure that the slip yoke of the rear drive shaft on again the XJs and the TJs of that era,
And
and the ZJs actually had.
I think they had something like this similar.
They had something similar.
But this would have been 97 to 2001 XJ, 97 to 06 TJ would have had this.
Yep. And it was to protect, and this is why I was saying it's a dry slip, because basically they were relying on you keeping the schmutz out of this.
Yep.
And that the internal splines of the drive shaft itself slipped over the output shaft. And prior to, there was what's called a wet slip, where you actually had the whole slip went into the transfer case. The problem with that, and we lived through it,
Yes.
was that as soon as you were playing in the rocks and you hyperextended or overextended your rear suspension because it wasn't set up right, or you hit the wrong rock and it fell out, or God forbid you broke your rear drive shaft, a U-joint, something.
Now the transfer case is bleeding out.
Now there's the fluid from your transfer case is pumping out the rear tail cone housing. So they went to the dry slip. It was one of the improvements they made in 97.
And now you
Yeah.
can remove your rear drive shaft and put it in front wheel drive and get home.
Yep. And I've driven many a Jeeps on front wheel drive alone. So fun fact question, 96 XJs, wet or dry?
I think it was dry.
See,
Can't remember exactly.
I can't remember either. And I think that one needs to be written down for the history books. As
I want to say 95 was wet and 96 was dry, but could be wrong.
interesting.
Correct the mud scientist.
Well, that was good.
That was.
That was good. Or we offended everybody and they logged off and then they went to sleep. Numbers are still okay, but either way,
I think people are going to laugh.
well, not with us. So I think that was pretty good. Again, I'll be heading, come heck or high water, I'll be heading to Florida this weekend in a pretty
and then
cool Jeep.
teasing us next week on the podcast with how nice the weather it is down there.
I
This is
hope
why I
so.
asked if it was a hurricane coming.
Right? I mean, it would only be fair since you and Greg went to Las Vegas,
And it was colder.
and it was colder there than it was here.
yeah.
It would be only fair. I mean, I think it should be pretty exciting. I'm trying to leave, Thursday night, overnight or so, but we've got some personal things. Kids are sick, dog is sick. Who knows? I mean, I'm trying to juggle it all right now.
Ken is saying, morning, forgot you were on.
Oh, well, better
Ken,
late than never.
I was going to say, stay tuned for after the outro. We'll have our little conversation. You can hang out for that.
Yeah, for sure. And if you know a cheap Jeep that you think that may mildly get me home, I mean, I'm not above a little bit of on the side of the road fabric cobbling. I've changed a tire or two with the wife sitting. She's helped me change a tire or two on the side of the road while we're sitting on the side of the road. So we're up for it.
Nate brought up a good point. Everyone get the registration in for Bantam last week? Question mark.
Yeah, that did go live.
And also, if you enjoyed today's episode, you need to sign up for Patreon because we are going to do a after hours episode coming up.
Adults only
that's
episode.
only going to be on Patreon.
Yep, and that will be a very fun, quirky experience for you. So, without further ado, we do have Jeeps to work on too. We got to bring this out to a close, and we'll see you next week from hopefully the east coast of Florida. Till then, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
I really got trashed on your suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went down the rabbit hole of the trailers.
What's that? What do you mean?
Oh,
What suggestions were you talking about?
No, I'm talking about. Oh, no. I'm saying I got trashed in the game. Like,
oh,
Yeah.
like you smoked me.
That's
you
fine.
know. Yeah, you got your.
He
you
brought
got your,
his A game because he
brought
was
his A
sour
game.
about losing the last couple.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what it was. He was super sour, and I did not prioritize it sufficiently.
Well, it also helped that, we plotted some of those things.
And that's fair. That's fair. I feel like it was a group effort to bring me down, to dethrone me. It seems to be in the wind right now. So that was the harness was cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that had us, like staring at it going, what? Why is this?
100%. And the fact that it's actually a Mopar product.
yep.
So this past weekend was the Mid America Off-Road Show, which I we had teased a couple weeks ago, and I forgot to bring up on the show last week to wish all of our followers and listeners, safe travels and enjoyment. And I do know that show was a successful endeavor. There were some interesting things to be had there. Obviously, it's a big pull for the Cincinnati, Louisville, Kentucky, pulls in a lot of Indiana, Illinois, people. And obviously, we had friends go down there. A couple different people I knew, were down there and kind of reporting back. We used to go with frequency. I loved that show, and I would go again. But it just never had. It's a tough time of year. You know what I mean?
I was going to say,
tough time of
because you
year.
had a charity event this weekend, didn't you?
We did, and so I'll talk about that in just a hot second because we did another charity. My wife and I had the opportunity to do another charity event this weekend, which was awesome. But I will say the piece that sticks out to me is that they were doing some on-site discounts, which you would expect at a show. For bumpers, right? So specifically, there was a bumper, a front bumper, and the company doing the sales was offering it, 10-15% off for the bumper for show pricing. And so I got a call and said, Neil, can you do this? Can you meet this show pricing? And I said, well, I'll look into it. I'm open, right? But the particular company offering the pricing is one that I know factually throws their weight around at that show, and so they'll take a loss to sell a product to undermine some of the other attendees at the show, right? So I know this. And I said, so I don't know. I'll have to look at the numbers. You let me know. And I said, it's not a bad discount, but let me see what I can do. I want your business, and I want to help you because you're, you know, a good customer of ours. I said, but figure out for me what shipping is, because we all know that a lot of the bumper manufacturers have gone to standardized pricing,
Yeah.
right? And so recently we know that it costs that flat out at a minimum they're charging $250
Yep.
to ship a front bumper specifically. Okay. And that's what we're talking about here. So USA manufacturer, USA shipping. And I said, so they're shipping that front bumper. They're charging a flat rate of $250 because it's coming LTL by today's standards.
Yep.
Right. So I know that EAG and the Amazon bumpers and some of the other bumpers are still coming banged up in a FedEx or a UPS box. But the really robust bumpers are coming freight anymore.
Yes.
Okay. It's like a big shift in the industry. So I said, and on the top end, it could be $350. So I'm talking to them. They're like, no way. There's no way that they're going to charge that. Right. I said, well, here's the thing. Before I make any yay or nays on what I can do financially for you, tell me, go over to the booth, ask them what their out the door price is, and ask them if they've got shipping. Right. They go over, they figure out what the out the door price is on the bumper. I'm like, okay, we can get there. Right. We can get there. I want to get there for you because you've supported us. I want to support you. They go, yeah. He goes, I don't care. I'm coming to you regardless because they want to ship at $450. One bumper, show special pricing, $450 for shipping.
That's because they needed the extra money back for the discount.
That's right.
Yep.
What a dirty secret.
Yeah.
What a dirty secret. How did you sell any bumpers this weekend because you're charging people $450 for a singular bumper?
And people are so used to the comp shipping, what it used to be. So now they're just like, oh, yeah, I'll take that. And then bam.
I mean, outrageous. You know what I mean? Just you're basically paying.
Well, and we've
at
seen
that
that on
point.
eBay and stuff where they've transitioned to a lower price to get your attention. And then there's like $120 shipping.
Right, because you get all excited because now
Yeah.
you're like, oh, it's within my reach. It's
Yes.
tangible, you know?
Yep.
So so I was not able to go to Mid-Atlantic this year because we had the opportunity to go to FOP 51, so Fraternal Order of Police, our local police force. They had an event this weekend supporting, our first responders. There was quite a few of our, again, first responders, EMTs, fire personnel, the courthouse employees, much of the people who, put themselves in that initial point of confrontation, in some capacity. And, big shout out to them. And it was awesome. It was just absolutely awesome. I had a great experience.
Any more shenanigans?
In what capacity?
Well, you did the Taco Bell shenanigans the last one.
So this was pretty low key for the wife and I. It was more of your standard silent auction and raffle type stuff. They actually play bingo at this kind of in a capacity. It's a reverse raffle of sorts. We actually just, and serendipitously, I promise you, this was the quirkiest piece of this, was that we did not attend with a number of people because this was our first year attending. Thanks a nice invite from one of the detectives, local detectives and customer of ours. And so I didn't know where to sit, right? It's that awkward moment where you're kind of scanning the room, and there happened to be two people or a table, a place for two people. And there was a guy there, and he had on a hoodie for a football team. I was like, okay, I can get behind that. And then he had a hat. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention. I said, well, how about we just sit with these people and we'll make friends, My wife was game. There was not the other seat filled at that time, So we sat down and we introduced ourselves. And he goes, oh, well, my wife, this person. And I was like, oh okay. Like, yay. I mean, like, I don't know, and we got to talking and all of a sudden unpacked everything. But the funny thing was, this was a member of one of the local clubs, Freedom Crawlers. He literally had a Jeep hat on, but I wasn't looking at his Jeep hat. My wife saw it and she thought that's why I decided to sit near them, And he's married to my one of my youth group minister leaders when I was in school. You know,
Oh,
so it was this nice like catching up, and then we talked Jeeps, and one of the club president that he's in was down at the Mid America, so we're doing updates and talking back and forth. You know, and equally serendipitously to my right, seated a seat away was. One of my high school best friend's parents, who were also not seated there when
you
we
sat
sat down.
That's funny.
awesome.
You know, so if there was shenanigans, it was just the great, like, very authentic catching up with people
Yeah.
and supporting our first responders and law enforcement, and you know, just had a overall spectacular experience doing that. So
that's awesome.
really, really happy for that, and look forward to what next year brings for some of these different causes we've been able to attend.
What about you, Scott?
So this weekend I got a new toy. I got my plasma cutter.
Yeah, that's
So-
exciting.
I wanted to try it out. So when I'd ordered my pallet forks for the tractor, I was cheap and didn't get the one with the little guard that goes above it. So if something was a tilt back, and so I had a piece of steel left over from the trailer repair,
Mm-hmm.
and I now have
When I
the-
broke his trailer. That was
I was
code.
trying not to say that.
That was code when I broke Scott's trailer.
Hey,
Which
well,
we're not allowed to borrow Scott's trailer
At least,
anymore.
at least it was from when you broke his trailer, not when I damaged his trailer.
That's
Hmm.
fair.
True,
Anyway,
too.
so now I have the press brake.
There's a reason we're not allowed to borrow his trailer anymore.
Went ahead and
That's why he's going to be like, you need to buy a trailer in Florida and bring it back.
I know why he's encouraging
Your
you.
trailer's a piece of junk, Neil, and you're not allowed to use mine.
So I used the press brake, bend it into a hoop, used some other scrap steel, made 2 risers, and got that all cobbled and painted and installed. And then I also, while I was doing that, repaired a handle on one of my vices and put 2 new old stock air cleaners on the 36.
All with the plasma cutter.
Well, no, just with
Oh.
just use a plasma cutter for the guard itself.
Okay.
But works awesome.
That's awesome.
I'm excited both for you on a personal level, but also professionally for us to play with that again. And I thank you for your contribution when we do use those things,
Yep.
even if it is your trailer that we're not allowed to use anymore.
Well,
When he gave me every trailer, it was broken first, and then I had to repair it.
oh, sure. So anyways,
When I tried to park the skid steer on the trailer that was definitely not rated for it,
No.
that's a fair accusation.
Yeah. My weekend was just a lot of running, but I did do something, and I really was excited to share this, especially with you. I think you'll appreciate it. So I went shopping Saturday. I took the boys with me, and I wanted to go buy a new suit, just because.
Sure.
Not for any special occasion. You know what? Nobody that sells suits is prepared for is someone just randomly buying a suit. They want to know what occasion you're buying it for. I'm like, I'm not. I just want a new suit. I want a 3-piece suit, and they're like, well, when do you need it by? I don't. I just want to order a new suit. I don't have a
Yeah.
complete suit anymore. I have a bunch of suit separates. And I want
Sure.
a complete suit. So I went to Men's Warehouse first,
Sure.
which I went there first because I really didn't care whether I bought from them or not.
Right.
And
But we
The-
knew they would have something,
I-
and they can tailor.
yep. So
Right.
I went in with a look in mind that I was looking for. I showed it to the sales guy. We're not going to have anything like that. Okay, well, what do you have? Let's talk about that. Well, we could do a custom. I'm like, okay, show me that. So he shows me a custom. I'm like, all right, that's not bad. Let's talk, fitment, price, and see where we go. He just didn't seem like he cared all that
Weird.
much. Yeah, he came up with a price. It was $630. I think he was expecting to sticker shock me. I know what suits cost, so I was like, all right, cool. Well, let's talk about the other things, And all in
Getting too
all,
loud. I don't know what to, I want to know. I'm on the edge of my seat.
all in all, I literally was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to think about this. I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna go look around a little bit. He goes, oh well, I don't want to lose a sale, but you should go check out Isaac Baker. They may have something more in line with what you're looking for. And I was like, well, they're closed because they're relocating until March. And he's like, oh, I don't know. I didn't know that. So I was like, wow, first of all, he didn't want the sale. Second, he referred me somewhere else and told me to go there instead. So I was like, it's like, I'll think on it. I'll let you know. Are you in tomorrow? He's like, I'm not, but this guy is. He can take care of you. I'll write it all down. Cool, whatever. I believe in commission sales, so I wanted to, if I decided to go back to that, I wanted to make sure who got it. Went to Penny's, because I bought suit parts from there, separates from there before, Nobody. There's nobody working. I've looked through some of the suits, I'm like, I don't know. So I walked over to Macy's. Going to Macy's, super helpful. Lady was right there. She wanted to walk through it with me, do everything with me, and then she's like, here, this suit would be similar to what you're looking for. It's not quite the same, but this and that. And I was like, I actually kind of really like that. Tried it all on, spent probably an hour there, ended up buying the suit, 3-piece suit, 2 shirts, a belt, and an overcoat for $180 less than what Men's Warehouse wanted.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Because it was all on sale, and then she added extra discounts.
Sure.
But I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
The difference. And I really just wanted to go back to Men's Warehouse and be like, hey, just so you know, look what I bought. I was ready to buy, and you weren't ready to sell.
Yeah, that's so tough. That's so tough,
Yep. Well,